A German pilot climbs into the cockpit of an American P-51 Mustang, the very same aircraft that once decimated his own Air Force. But here's the twist. He's not a prisoner being forced to cooperate. He volunteered. This story remained hidden for more than 30 years, buried deep inside classified Pentagon files. It's a story that challenges everything we think we know about loyalty, wartime ethics, and the strange respect that can form between enemies. Today, you're about to discover how a man sentenced to death by his own nation became one of the most valuable assets to the United States Air Force, and how his decisions helped shape modern aviation. December 1944, the Third Reich is crumbling. Hitler's final gamble, the Battle of the Bulge, is collapsing in chaos. German cities burn beneath endless waves of Allied bombers, and the Luftwaffe, once feared across Europe, is a shell of its former power. Yet among its dwindling ranks remain a few exceptional pilots, men who have survived since the very beginning of the war. One of them was Hans Lerche. Born in 1914, he joined the Luftwaffe in the early 1930s, long before open rearmament began. By 1944, Lerche wasn't just another fighter pilot. He was Germany's chief test pilot, trusted to fly the nation's most advanced prototypes, including the world's first operational jet, the Me-262. But on a cold December morning in 1944, his war would take a turn no one could have imagined. While testing a modified Bf-109, Lerche's engine suddenly failed. Whether it was sabotage, mechanical fatigue, or poor quality materials, no one truly knows. Germany was running out of reliable parts, resorting to inferior metals and desperate substitutes. With his engine dead and altitude fatting fast, Lerche faced a choice: crash in German territory, risking civilian lives, or attempt a landing behind enemy lines and become a prisoner. Against all logic, he chose the latter. American troops soon discovered an intact German aircraft, and inside it, one of the Luftwaffe's most experienced pilots. Normally, captured airmen were sent to POW camps after brief questioning. But when U.S. intelligence realized who they had, the tone changed completely. Colonel Harold Watson, a leading American test pilot, was sent to question Lerche. Watson had been studying captured German planes for months, trying to uncover how German engineering compared to American designs. Now, face to face, he was speaking with the very man who had flown and tested nearly every one of those aircraft. What began as a 72-hour interrogation stretched into 3 weeks of technical conversations and mutual respect. Watson quickly realized that this wasn't an ordinary enemy pilot. Lerche's knowledge could shorten the war and shape the future of U.S. aviation. Watson made a radical suggestion. What if we let him fly our planes? The idea was immediately rejected by Washington. Allowing an enemy pilot to fly top-secret American fighters was unthinkable. But Watson persisted, and after weeks of debate, a classified order came through in early 1945. Under strict security, Lerche would remain a prisoner but live under supervision at Wright Field, Ohio. He'd be allowed to test Allied aircraft that the Germans had already encountered. Armed guards would monitor every flight, and escape would be impossible. But one condition was non-negotiable. Lerche had to agree voluntarily. After a long silence, he accepted on his own terms. He would not fly any mission that could harm German troops. His evaluations would remain honest, and when the war ended, he wanted a chance to start a new life in America. To everyone's surprise, the Pentagon agreed. March 15, 1945, Wright Field, Ohio. The sight was surreal. A German pilot walking toward a P-51 Mustang, the aircraft that had crippled the Luftwaffe. For Lerche, though, it wasn't humiliation, it was fascination. He was finally seeing the engineering he'd fought against for years. His first test flight lasted 2 hours. When he landed, surrounded by American pilots, his first words stunned everyone. "Your engineers have solved problems we didn't even know we had." In the following weeks, Lerche flew nearly every major Allied fighter: the P-47 Thunderbolt, the P-38 Lightning, even the new P-80 Shooting Star jet. His technical notes helped the U.S. understand why German tactics had failed and why Allied aircraft had prevailed. He explained that German fighters were designed for short-range interception, while American planes were built for endurance, missions deep behind enemy lines. It wasn't just better machines, it was better strategy. Decades later, declassified files revealed a shocking twist. Lerche's engine failure may not have been an accident at all. Maintenance records suggest he sabotaged his own aircraft, a calculated defection, not a capture. And U.S. intelligence knew it. Still, what mattered most wasn't betrayal. It was the exchange of knowledge that followed. Lerche's expertise, combined with Watson's curiosity, created a partnership that transcended war. When Germany surrendered in May 1945, Lerche's status grew complicated. He was no longer an enemy combatant, but not yet a free man. The U.S. Air Force, however, wasn't ready to let him go. Tensions with the Soviet Union were already rising, and Lerche's insight into Eastern European aviation was invaluable. In December 1945, 1 year after his capture, he was officially hired as a civilian test pilot for the U.S. Air Force. He continued working in that role until 1950, before returning to Germany to help rebuild its aviation industry. His influence endured for decades. His analyses shaped American aircraft design, pilot training, and Cold War aerial tactics. Here's the revelation the Pentagon buried for over 30 years. Lerche's cooperation wasn't an isolated case. It was the foundation for what became Operation Paperclip, the secret U.S. program to recruit German scientists and engineers after the war. Lerche's case proved that former enemies could become invaluable partners. His professionalism, honesty, and skill turned a moment of defeat into one of history's most unlikely collaborations. Hans Lerche spent the rest of his life flying and advising aircraft projects across both NATO and German industries. He and Colonel Watson remained lifelong friends. Watson later wrote, "He was the enemy I never expected to admire, a professional to the core, and a reminder that decency can survive even in war." Lerche died in 1997, remembered not as a traitor, but as a pilot who proved that shared respect and expertise could bridge even the deepest divides. So here's the question for you. If you were in his position, captured, your nation collapsing, offered a chance to fly for your former enemies, what would you do? Was Hans Lerche a traitor, or a man who chose survival and progress over ideology? Share your thoughts in the comments. And remember, history's most powerful lessons often come from stories we were never meant to hear.